I'm Kaylee, and these are the books that I read in May. For those of you who are wondering, my shirt says, "As for me and my piano, we will serve the Lord." So now you know. I'm a church pianist, so you know, that's why. I had an amazing reading month in May. I just got super motivated and had some extra time and just was really enjoying most of what I was reading. And so I flew through a bunch of books. I read 25 books in May. I read 2 manga, 5 children's books, 4 children's picture books, 8 middle grade books, 4 YA, 2 nonfiction, and I DNF'd a book. So I read 25 books and then DNF'd another one. Before we dive into everything that I read, I'm gonna reach back here to our Booktuber Shoutout book, and we're gonna shout out somebody randomly. Today's shout out goes to Reading Through the Generations. I will leave a link to their channel in the description. Be sure to go over and subscribe to them. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to this channel and give this video a thumbs up if you had a great reading month in May like I did. And follow me over on Goodreads and Instagram and all the places. I got really excited about reading through the Enchanted Forest Chronicles and read books 2, 3, and 4 in May. I've reread these. I think this might be my 3rd time rereading through the quartet. These have just become like the perfect comfort reads for me. They all get 5 stars. I enjoyed reading through that series again so much. I think one of the things I love about it is it takes all these fairy tale tropes and kind of flips them upside down. So you get the princess who doesn't want to do princessy things. She wants to go out and have adventures. And you get the witch who isn't an evil witch. She's a good witch, and she doesn't just have 1 black cat. She has like 10 cats, and none of them are black. It's just kind of funny to see how the characters do the opposite of what fairy tale characters normally would do. And it's just hilarious and adventurous and absolutely delightful. I also read books 3 and 4 in the Heroes of Olympus series by Rick Riordan. I read Mark of Athena and House of Hades. This is only my 2nd time reading through the Heroes of Olympus series, and I just love it so much more every time that I read it. I mean, I loved it the first time, but the 2nd time, it's kind of like I already know the storyline that is coming up, and it just makes the beginning so much more meaningful in some way. And I just love Rick Riordan. It's just fun, and I love learning about all the Greek and Roman legends, and I absolutely adore these characters so much. 5 stars for both of these, and I'm going to be finishing up this particular series with Blood of Olympus in June. And then I have a bunch more Rick Riordan planned to read for the rest of the year. Unfortunately, then came a book that was not so happy. One of my wrapped books was Chasing Redbird by Sharon Creech, and I've read, I think, 2 other books by Sharon Creech that I really liked. So I came into this with high expectations and then was really disappointed. So this is about a girl named Zinnia who blames herself for her aunt's death. So Zinnia decides to follow this old trail up through the hills above their farm, and it's all overgrown, so she's like clearing away the brush and the weeds that have grown up over the years and kind of uncovering these markers that are along the trail as penance for her aunt's death. And her uncle begins to lose his mind after the aunt's death, and he insists that he can see her. He can see her ghost up in the hills. And then there's this boy, Jake, who has a crush on Zinnia, even though she is like 12 or 13 and he is 16. Kind of creepy, kind of a weird age gap there. And he's a kleptomaniac, and he keeps stealing things to give to her as gifts. And it's just very weird, very weird. Every character in this book is really disturbed and has like serious mental health issues, okay? It's just really creepy and weird and disturbing. And I gave it 1.5 stars, and it was just like, what is this? It was very strange. I read books 2 and 3 in the Renegades series by Marissa Meyer. This was Arch Enemies and Supernova. So Nova has grown up as part of a group called the Anarchists, and she has infiltrated the Renegade headquarters as a spy. So the Renegades are superheroes who have like saved the city from the Anarchists. But her loyalties are divided as she becomes more and more attached to one of the Renegades, Adrian. So Adrian is a young superhero his 2 dads are the leaders of the Renegades and pretty much the leaders of the whole city. So Adrian is very eager to prove himself to his two dads, and Nova is eager to prove herself to all the anarchists. I gave Arch Enemies 3.5 stars. I liked it pretty well. I kind of liked the direction that the story was taking. And I also gave Supernova 3.5 stars. The ending was pretty good. It was definitely adventurous and exciting. However, in the whole trilogy, the writing style is just very slow paced. I feel like the entire trilogy could have just been one book. It just drags out the narrative, explaining things that the reader already knows over and over. It just could have been much more concise. That trilogy just did not need to be that long. It was just, the pacing was so slow and drawn out. So I liked the story, but I felt like the writing style was just, too much. I finally finished reading Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire in Spanish. This one has taken me quite a while to get through because I do read more slowly in Spanish. And I've just been reading so many other things that Harry Potter just keeps kind of getting pushed to the side. And then when it was coming up to the scene in the graveyard with Voldemort, I was like, I don't want to read this part, because there's a character that dies if you don't already know. And I was just like, I don't want it. And so I kept putting it off and procrastinating because I did not want to read that part. But I finally was just like, I've got to have courage. And I sat down and read it and just got through it. And of course I was crying and everything. But I did enjoy rereading this one in a different language. It was really fun. And somehow I felt like parts that are comedic in the story were just so much funnier in Spanish. I don't know why, but that really struck me. Maybe that's just me, I don't know. But of course I enjoyed it, and I always give Harry Potter 5 stars. Another one of my wrapped books was Sun and Moon, Ice and Snow by Jessica Day George. So this is a fairy tale retelling where a woodcutter's daughter agrees to live with an enchanted polar bear in his ice castle for a year. And then her family will be incredibly wealthy. And she's hoping that she can break the enchantment off of the polar bear. But as she starts to investigate, there are consequences because the enchantress who put them all under this enchantment does not want her sneaking around. So she ends up putting herself and others in danger every time that she tries to solve this mystery and investigate. It was really imaginative, and the romance is clean and sweet. I really liked the mystery and all the characters. It was just a delightful, just lovely fairy tale retelling. I gave this one 4 stars. Another wrapped book was The Golden Dream of Carlo Chuchio. So Carlo finds this ancient map to a treasure, and he sets out on a journey to faraway lands to try to find this treasure. And Bakshish offers to work as his servant, and he's gonna guide him from the coast to the inland city where they can start their treasure hunt. They are also joined by Shira, a girl who was kidnapped and sold as a slave, and now she has escaped and she's trying to return to her home in the mountains. So they have all kinds of adventures, and they're attacked by bandits, and they get lost in the desert, and Carlo is mistaken for a foreign prince and held for ransom. So it's very adventurous, but it was also much more violent than I thought it would be. Like, there's just a lot of violence and beheadings and torturing. One guy is like burned to death. It was kind of gross. So I think if it hadn't been for quite that much violence, it might have been 4 stars. But as it was, it just wasn't quite to my taste, and so I gave it 3 stars. If you want to see all the details of the violence in this one, and you can kind of decide for yourself if you feel like that's too graphic for you, like it was for me, then you can always check out this book on the Screen It First website. It has been screened on there, so you can see exactly the details of how the violence was described, and you can make a decision for yourself. I'll leave a link to the Screen It First website in the description so that you can go over and check it out for yourself. And the DNF, the one that I just couldn't finish, was The Shadow of the Wind. I read up through page 69, and then I just couldn't stand it anymore. So this is a story about Daniel, who owns this rare book, and he thinks it might be the very last one in existence from this author, because he finds out that a mysterious man has been systematically tracking down every copy of every book from this author and burning them. So now Daniel most likely has the very last copy. So this one, it just has violence and a lot of really crass sexual innuendos, and there is an explicit scene, that I was just like, oh, I don't want to see all that. Yeah, I just couldn't with this book. So I DNF'd it. I think this one has also been screened on the Screen It First website. So you can go over there and check it out and see if you think that it's fine for you, or if, like me, you're just like, not in my comfort zone. No, thank you. I really like the Screen It First website because then each person can just decide for themselves what they can manage, you know? And I'm very sensitive, so I just can't manage stuff. So yeah, I can't cope with all that. I also read the first 2 volumes of the Ouran High School Host Club manga series. This is my second time reading through the series, and I am enjoying it so much because, of course, I already adore these characters and all their silly shenanigans. So Haruhi is a girl who has to dress up like a boy so that she can work for the host club because she owes them money from when she broke a vase, and it was like this $80,000 vase. And of course, shenanigans ensue. I've watched the anime many times, but this is only my second time reading through the Ouran High School Host Club manga. And of course, the manga has so many more storylines than the anime covers. And so I'm looking forward to getting further along through the volumes and being able to revisit some of the storylines and some of the plot points and everything that the anime doesn't cover. I think I gave like pretty much every volume in this series 4 stars because it is one of my favorites. If you want to see the beautiful box set that I bought, you can check out my video when I did a manga book haul, and I also hauled Fruits Basket as well. So if you want to see all the prettiness of the lovely manga volumes, you can check out that video. The rest of the books in this video are books that I received from a publisher in exchange for a free and honest review. So one of the nonfiction that I read was Thinking in Watercolor. I actually requested this from the publisher specifically because my brother is an artist. He's actually an art teacher. So I thought, ooh, maybe I could learn a little something about art, and then I could pass on that book to him and maybe he could use it with his students or something. So it was really interesting. I know absolutely nothing about art. It gives you all these simple steps that you can take and know what type of watercolor supplies to buy. And then it kind of takes you through the steps of how to blend and all these things. So there are daily exercises that kind of get you to think creatively and really use your imagination. I thought it was really cool, and my brother seemed to think it was good. So now I know a little something about art that I can talk about with my brother. I gave this one 4 stars. I also read The Forest Yet to Come. This is actually the 3rd book in the Wolf's Tongue saga, but it can sort of be read as a standalone. I have not even read the first 2 books in the Wolf's Tongue saga, and so I was able to follow this one just fine. So in this one, Sally and her brother Phelan are found as orphans, and they are raised in this walled settlement. And within the settlement, there are these mysterious shapes, kind of like ghostly figures that are very benevolent, and they help to grow food in the fields, and they help with healing. But then the fox trickster Reynard arrives, and he's very curious about the shapes. So he tricks Sally into helping him find out the mystery of the shapes. And then of course, everything falls apart and all of their adventures go crazy. This story has a very dream-like quality. Nothing is ever quite explained. It's all just kind of mysterious and up in the air. The prose is really beautiful and haunting, and the story kind of takes these philosophical paths that the characters explore. And I really liked Sally's character because she's a very solid kind of person in this mysterious world. She wants answers. She wants to know the facts. She wants to be able to understand how things work. But I did not like her brother's character, Phelan. The main plot point of the story is when he has this psychotic break and he goes in the woods and lives as an animal for several weeks. And I think this was meant to be like liberating for his character, like he's one with nature or something like that. But I thought the way that it was described was just really disturbing. It was just kind of gross. And it was very violent in many ways. Like it was emotionally, psychologically violent, and it was also physically violent. And it was just really disturbing to read about. I don't know. I can kind of see what the author was trying to do with that character, but I did not enjoy reading that. I don't know. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. It just wasn't quite my cup of tea. I also read the second book in the Mystery at the Biltmore series, The Classified Catnapping. So Elodie is a little girl who has her own detective business, and when a famous, wealthy cat is catnapped. Elodie is on the case. This was just so adorable and cute, and I gave it 4 stars. I also read Epic Factopia. I requested this one from the publisher because my nieces love the whole Factopia series. I think we have 3 or 4 of them now. And so I enjoyed reading it. I gave it 4 stars, and then I'm excited to share it with my nieces because they love all those little factoids and the funny little things. I also read Ivy, Newt, and the Storm Witch. Ivy is distraught when her royal parents disappear during a terrible storm. And she goes searching for them with the help of her familiar, who is a shape-shifting wolf boy. They travel to the land of the cunning folk, and they get help from a boy with a flying carpet, and they have to solve the mystery of Ivy's missing parents. This was such a cute story, even though they're all witches, so they like cobwebs and slime and dust and all kind of creepy stuff. Somehow that just felt really cozy. Like even the cobwebs felt really adorable and cozy. This one was just so delightful, and I gave it 4 stars. I also read The Smallest Kitten by Holly Webb. So this is about 2 twins. They're moving to a new home, they're starting in a new school, and they get to adopt a kitten. Even though the storyline is just really simple for this age group, there is just such a delightful charm about Holly Webb's writing. I always enjoy reading her books, and I enjoy sharing them with my little nieces. I gave The Smallest Kitten 4 stars. I also read The Pinchers and the Curse of the Egyptian Cat. So the Pincher family are all thieves and liars. They love to steal and cheat, except for Theo. He has an honest streak, and he starts to get a stomachache whenever he tries to do anything dishonest. This is just so funny. It's just so hilarious to see parents like encouraging their children to steal. You know, it's just the opposite of what parents would normally do. So it's just really funny and lighthearted, but of course there's a good moral message in there as well. I gave this one 4 stars. It's just so hilarious. And I also read Losing the Plot. Basil is very bookish, and he has to help his sports-loving neighbor Terry with his reading skills. So although they are very different, the 2 boys sit down to read the Grimm's fairy tales, and magic happens, and Gretel pops out of the storybook. She begs them to come back to the fairy tale world to help her because her brother Hansel has been kidnapped. This story is so funny and just hilarious because the fairy tale characters are just kind of stepping outside of their written roles. And they're very worried that if they can't return Hansel to his proper story, then a plot hole will develop which will consume the whole fairy tale world. This is just a really fun adventure, and I gave it 4 stars. And those are all the books that I read in May. Please leave me a comment and let us know, what were you reading in May? What's a book that you really enjoyed? Or what is maybe a book that you DNF'd because you just couldn't cope? I would love to hear about your reading in the comments. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and remember, the right book in the right hands at the right time can change the world.